Gone, gone the form of man, and rise the demon Etregan! Hello everybody, Mac here, welcome back to the show. It is Bricktober, it is Comic Book Wednesday, and of course that means we are taking a look at a demon, and not just any demon, the Demon Etregon from the DC Universe, McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse line. And as you can see right off the bat, this is not his traditional appearance. This is not his traditional red cloth outfit that Etrigan is most known for wearing. Looking on the side of the box, you can see this is his Demon Knight's garb, the armor he wore in his, I believe it was short-lived series Demon Knights, which is, of course, his New 52 look. I say short-lived because I really liked the title when it started. And I read it, I think, for the first year. But after that, I kind of lost interest in the New 52 in general, not just Demon Knights. Demon Knights was actually one of my favorite things about the New 52, but I lost interest in the New 52 in general, and there wasn't enough to keep me going back and buying more, so I just kind of dropped off all of my DC for a while. It's only been recently with Rebirth that I've started getting back into DC. But I do remember liking this look. I do remember liking the title. Whereas the more modern version of Etrigan takes place in the here and now, Demon Knights took place in the way back. He was in it, Shining Knight was in it, Vandal Savage was in it. It was kind of like Ghost Rider meets Conan the Barbarian. It was really cool, actually. I really liked it. And that was one of the things I would have liked to have seen carry over. But of course we know Etrigan is back to his old self. So here we go, with McFarlane Toys, we have your basic packaging, black, no frills, the figure speaks for itself. Up top, we have that big window that lets light come down through when it's on a peg. It says the demon on the side. On the back, we have a really nice promotional shot, a big enlargement of the trading card that's inside, and we also have a cross-sell along the bottom of what else came out with this wave. The Flash, Red Hood, Batman Beyond, or Batwoman Beyond, Dr. Fate. Now, that is the Injustice version of Dr. Fate, but I still think I want to get that. That looks really good. And Death Knights. And on the side, the Demon Knights. On the bottom, barcode. Nothing much to look at. So, let's just get this open, and let's take a look at McFarlane Toys' DC Multiverse, The Demon. Okay, friends, here he is, out of the box, Etrigan the Demon, and there is a lot to like about this figure, and there is a few surprises with this figure. But the first thing we'll do is we'll put the tape measure to him, we'll see how he measures up. Being a McFarlane figure, he should come in at roughly 7 inches tall, and with the tape we can see that at the top of his yellow head, his mustard head, Etrigan stands 7.5 inches tall. So he is a little taller than the standard McFarlane figure, which is truthfully how it should be. Now, taking a look at articulation, you can imagine that this collar is going to interfere with the head articulation, and it does a little bit. He can still do a full 360. The collar is very soft, and it does a lot to get out of the way, but it's still stiff enough that it holds its shape. He can't really look up, and I don't even think that's because of the collar. I think that's just because of the head sculpt. He can look down a little bit. And he has, look at that, he has a decent amount of tilt in his head from side to side, so that's a good thing. Now, these armored shoulder pads here, they are attached to underneath the cape. So when you lift the arm up, they do get out of the way, and you can see that the arm can come up a little bit past 90. And likewise, when you spin the arm, they will lift and get out of the way, but you'll still have to come out to the side a little bit to accommodate that. Has the butterfly joint here in the shoulder. Goes front to back and up and down. Now here's something that's surprising. Etrigan only has a single jointed elbow. Let me see if I can show you here. He only has a single jointed elbow, and it only comes to about there, barely at 90. And it's a single joint with a hinge and swivel, like the 5-inch figures that we saw for Avatar: The Last Airbender. I don't know if that's going to be a new thing that he's going to be doing, or if he just did that with Etrigan, because Etrigan is so beefy. And I can imagine not wanting to trench this scale mail, because the sculpt on this is actually really beautiful. We'll be taking a look at that in a second. His wrists, both of them pivot, and they hinge, But like all McFarlane toys, it's a swivel hinge swivel type thing where if it goes up and down, you can turn it, bring the hand up, and it will come in and out as well. Let's get your arms out of the way, Etrigan. Now at the waist, you can see he has this cut, and it's hidden really well by the breastplate, because you have the scale mail that comes up, and then this natural line that is made by the breastplate, and they use that for the ab crunch, and he can get some swivel out of it right there. He can crunch forward, he can crunch back a little bit more, some side to side, but then down here at the waist, he has a ball joint that you can see if you go a little too far, it'll start to lift out. But with that ball joint, you can really get some movement. Oh, look at that. You can even see that underneath there. Huh. But yeah, you're going to want to keep that down, because this piece, unlike when we were looking at the Hasbro Baroness figures where they were using her belt to hide the open joint right there, this is actually glued in place. So it's not going to move. Is that glued? I thought it was glued. Yeah, it feels like at the back here, it's glued in place. Yeah, underneath there you can see there are two pegs that are pegging into the backside of his armor, and it's glued in there. Okay, so on one hand, that does a really good job of holding this piece in place. On the other hand, you can't really adjust it to hide any gapping that you might get. But how often are you going to be posing him like that? But still, this is really good. Much like the cape, this is very soft, so it'll get out of way of his legs. Now his legs can come, they can go to about there, but then they're going to want to slip back down. Now coming forward, that's about all the forward they'll come, unless you twist, and then you can get it to come up more. Same thing going back. His leg can go back that far. Now, McFarlane has been working on this hip joint that there was supposed to be, there's a swivel at the hip joint, and this is probably the best I've seen them do on that hip joint so far. And I think it's because they have not only the crotch piece, but also this sort of skirted piece here to help hide the articulation, that they were able to get some really good movement out of it. Either way, I really like the leg movement on him. He does still have double jointed knees, which for a bulky figure like Etrigan, you can see they get some really good travel, but you also get these huge gaps in the knee pads. And really, there's a trade-off for everything. You either have really good articulation and you have something like this that happens, or you don't, and it just stays clean. But honestly, this is nothing new. We've seen stuff like this on these types of figures before, so we're used to that. And he has the swivel at the ankle, goes back, goes forward, and also has that ability to, you have to kind of get your finger in there and hold the ball this time, but you can turn it like the wrists and then get your side-to-side rocker out of it that way as well. Plus, he has toe articulation. So he has basically all of the same articulation as most McFarlane Toys figures do, except for these elbows being single jointed, which really surprises me. I don't know if I've had a 7-inch figure from McFarlane with only single jointed elbows yet. I don't know if there's any other ones out there. Let me know in the comments below if there are, because this is the first time I've encountered it outside his 5-inch line. Now looking at the sculpt, I really want to start at Etrigan's head, because there is some great detail in this. When I first saw him in the box, I thought that they were giving him a more neutral face, an expressionless face. And I was kind of upset about that, because Etrigan emotes. Etrigan is has a lot of expression to the things that he does. But then when I got him out of the box, I see he actually is scowling a little bit. And that's very in personality with the demon, and I like that. You can see the detail work, the texturing they did in his ears right here. I really like that. And then the texturing and the separate coloring of his horns, the furrowed brow, those eyes, those just evil, evil eyes, the black with the red pupils. This is great right up in here. That alone, I think, is a great job on the sculpt work of Etrigan's face. But then when you take a look at the rest of him and you look at the detail work in the armor, you look at the shine, you look at the metal texturing, the wear that they gave some of it, like in the bracers right here. Unfortunately, on my bracer, you can see that some of the paint chipped off in the packaging, but that is what it is. I'm not going to bemoan that. He's wearing battle armor. It could be battle damaged, and truthfully, it's on the inside of the wrist. Probably not going to see it too much, so I'm not going to fret that. If it bothers me, my brother's pretty good at painting miniatures and figures. He'll probably be able to blend something and get that taken care of. But then you look at the chest piece, and you look at this bright metallic red up here. Even the buckles on his cape right here. And this is actually surprising to me, that when you look at the rest of him, which we will in a second, I'm actually surprised they didn't paint the buckles and they're just the standard purple color of the rest of the cape. But look at the red on the symbol on his chest. Look at the detail and the depth of the scale mail. When I first saw this in the box, I thought he was going to be just all gray or all silver and not much to him, but man, was I wrong. The metallic red on his buckle right here. The texturing on the straps coming down from his belt, once again leading down into the scale mail of the harness, and then the boots matching his breastplate and his shoulder pads. The dark gray, this is beautiful work. This, for me, this might be, and then there's his toesies, which, little bit of mist paint right there, but that's not going to bother me either. On the back, we have some great texturing, some wrinkle, the way that it folds back right here of his cape. This looks good. The only thing that would make this better is if this was actually a cloth cape, but I'm not going to complain about that. It lifts up, and you can see that they continued the detail work on back, and then this lifts up, and you can see that they didn't skimp, that the scale mail continues up around into the crotch piece. This is a beautiful figure, and quite honestly, this may be the best thing I've received from McFarlane Toys since I've started collecting McFarlane Toys. This may be what I've been waiting for. I really, really like the look, the sculpt, and the paint app of Etrigan here. For accessories, Etrigan has a few. First of all, we have the trading card that comes with all the DC Multiverse figures. I think the DC Multiverse figures are the only figures that McFarlane packs with a trading card. We have that promo shot up front that was on the back of the box, and on the back we have a little bit of a bio. I really like this. I really like this trading card idea. I think Hasbro should take a note from McFarlane on this. This is something, this trading card with a bio on the back. I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but this could be something that would make the G.I. Joe Classified line stand out even more if they did something like that. And of course, he has his stand that McFarlane includes with all of his figures. Just a basic black stand with the DC logo etched in up front. And finally, we have Etrigan Sword, and just look at this giant meat cleaver here. I love this thing. Like the armor, this has some great coloring to it, a dark gray handle with the metal of the blade. You can see there's some dings, some weathering in it. I really like that, like you believe this big carving knife of a sword has been used. One thing I don't like, and this is something across the board with McFarlane's figures, that the weapons are very flimsy. Okay, and we know that Shao Kahn's Warhammer loses shape after a while, and Wonder Woman's sword doesn't really hold much of a shape. This is already a little wavy when I took it out of the packaging, but I'm hoping that because of how thick the blade actually is on this thing, that this will hold shape better than some of the other weapons that we've seen. And to put it in his hand, it's a little bit of a tight fit because it has, you can see it has this spiked pommel down here. You kind of gotta work it into his clawed grip right there. Come on. Get in there. Get in there. It also doesn't help that the handle is very bendy too. So with a tight grip and a bendy handle, there we go. You kind of have to work. The hand came off. You kind of have to work to get it in there. No biggie, it just pops right back on. And there we go. Etrigan is swinging steel. In lieu of having any DC Multiverse figures to match him up to, here he is with McFarlane Toys Mortal Kombat 11 Spawn and Witcher 3 Geralt of Rivia. You can see that he's about on par with Spawn, which as it should be, and Geralt, being a human, is shorter than Etrigan, as it should be. Here he is matched up against a couple of other monstrous-type figures, Mortal Kombat 11 Shao Kahn from McFarlane Toys, and Hasbro Power Rangers Lightning Collection King Sphinx. Here he is beside the Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified Cobra Trooper and the Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins Storm Shadow. Here he is with Lanyard Toys Xenomorph Drone and City Hunter Predator. And finally, because I pull them out whenever I can, Jazzwares Wicked Cool Toys, Spartan Collection Master Chief, and Cat. So I said it once already in this review, and I'm going to say it again. I really, really like this figure. As a matter of fact, as I said before, I do think this is probably the best one that I've received, that I have received from McFarlane Toys so far. I don't know, there might be other ones out there like this, little hidden gems that McFarlane is putting out, but for me, between the sculpt, the articulation, the paint application, just the general look, feel, tone of the whole figure, I think everything about Etrigan, everything about the Demon is checking all of the boxes. It's firing on all cylinders, whatever analogy you want to use. I feel like this one is, there's no such thing as a perfect action figure, but this is as close to it as I feel McFarlane has gotten. There are some things that could be done differently. Not having the double jointed elbows that are signature of McFarlane's figures. Etrigan doesn't really have the arm articulation or the range of movement in the arms that some of his other figures do. Or even if he wanted to stick with single-jointed elbows, he needed to do something so that you got a little bit more travel, that they could at least get up to 90 degrees. That's an issue right there. The waistline really opening up when you crunch him back. That's another issue. And then also there is the issue, it's not even really an issue, it's more of a nitpick, that I feel like the buttons on his cape that are holding it to the armor, they should have been painted a different color. But past that, with everything that we have with this figure and what we're used to receiving from McFarlane Toys, and every figure is a brand new sculpt, Etrigan is a true winner in McFarlane's line. Like the feet and the hands, I honestly thought there was going to be some reuse from maybe something like Shao Kahn that would have been brought over into this. But the hands, the feet, everything is brand new. This is all Etrigan, and he looks fantastic. If you don't collect DC Multiverse, he's a demon. He can fit into so many other things. He could fit into your Witcher line for Geralt to fight. He could fit into your Mortal Kombat line for everybody to fight. If you collect Spawn, like I said, Demon, he would fit in well with all the Spawn characters that are coming out. There's just so many possibilities for this guy. And yeah, he's a 7-inch figure. You could even fit him into something like Marvel Legends or any other line, fantasy line, D&D, whatever you want, because he's a demon. It's okay if he's taller than the 1/12 figures. If it's okay if he's taller than a 6-inch figure. He's a demon. I know I keep saying that, but he can be bigger than your standard characters. So he's definitely worth checking out, I feel like. And for $20 for all of this beautiful sculpt, all of this beautiful paint app, all of this, I think it's definitely worth at least looking at if you see him on the shelf and give him a thought. Etrigan, I don't think you'll be upset with him. So that is what we have for you today on Comic Book Wednesday, my friends. We have more coming down the line for Bricktober. Of course, we have more for the Mega Construx Masters of the Universe. We have more of that 5-pack to take a look at. So until then, happy Halloween, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, thank you for watching.